All right. Thank you so much, Marshall, and hello, everyone. Today is January 14th, 2026. This is the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A, and my name is Matt Clark. I'm a data governance administrator at CSIS supporting CalPADS, and I'll be hosting the Q&A today. Driving documentation for us is Alex Thandy. In terms of announcements, I do have a few for folks today. First, the Fall 1 amendment deadline and final deadline for Fall 1 is next Friday, January 23rd, 2026. This is the date by which both LEA and SELPA approval are required for Fall 1. This is also the relevant deadline for differentiated assistance eligibility through the CalPADS pathway, and any LEA who is uncertified in Fall 1 after January 23rd will become eligible for differentiated assistance. Second announcement here, the CalPADS service desk will be closed on Monday, January 19th, in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. The CalPADS system will remain online, and the CalPADS service desk will resume operations on Tuesday, January 20th. Next announcement here, registration for the March 2026 CalPADS Regional Update meetings is now available on the CSIS Training registration page, and I'll put a link to the CSIS Training registration page in chat for everyone here shortly. The March regionals consist in a 2-hour webinar and will provide timely updates and relevant information for the end of year submissions in the 25-26 school year. Registration is designed to take place by region, and information on the counties in each region are included in each course offering on the CSIS Training registration page. American Sign Language interpreter services will be provided in the March 4th, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. session, and we do encourage you to register and attend the March regionals. In addition to the March regionals, my fourth and final announcement here, the virtual check-in session of the CSIS Data Governance Academy is taking place on February 19th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Registration is currently available on the CSIS Training registration page for the virtual check-in session as well, and participation in the virtual check-in session will consist solely in individual virtual participation. The virtual check-in will consist in a panel interview with San Bernardino County Office of Education and Hemet Unified School District regarding local data governance practices, challenges, and opportunities. And the intended audience for the check-in session is cabinet level leaders, CalPADS administrators, differentiated assistant staff, and data governance professionals. All right, and that may have been quite a bit for everyone, but that is it for my announcements. Angela, any announcements on known issues, defects, or deployments to share today?
No deployments this week or next week because we're approaching the final deadline. Terry, you joined at the right time. We did have a patch for that issue that you and I talked about on Friday. So you're just waiting for a new revision for you. It should be fixed this afternoon, but otherwise no deployments for this week or next week.
All right, thank you, Angela. And Dominic, any updates from the CDE?
Sure. With the deadline looming, I just wanted to remind everybody that they should still be working, if they haven't already, to make sure that all students who require a degree of support on their plan that is included in your Fall 1 finalized submission have that data element. If you are still updating your student records, you will need to disapprove and wait for a new revision to reapprove in order for that data to be captured. So plan for that if you're able to. My understanding is that students who require a degree of support but don't have that data element will cause exceptions for Fall 2. Aside from that, on January 29th, we are having the Personnel Data Report training webinar. I'll drop the link into the chat momentarily. So if that is something that crosses your desk or you're interested in learning more about that, I would encourage you to sign up. And that's all from me.
All right. Thank you so much, Dominic. And let me go ahead and drop that link to the CSIS Training registration website in chat as well here. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So our first question is a Q1 from Jennifer at 302. How would we report staff with partial FTE on leave? For example, a teacher is 0.5 FTE on leave and 0.5 FTE not on leave. Would we report a one FTE teacher assignment with a non-classroom based job assignment of 6018, employee on leave, even though only 0.5% is FTE on leave.
Well, I could take a stab at this one. You're going to report the staff again. If this teacher's on leave, you want to make sure that that's the teacher of record to report that teacher. Otherwise, you'd report the teacher of record. And for the scenario, FTE is reported by job classification or school of course delivery. So their time on leave and their time not on leave is under the one job classification teacher. So the FTE should be, I guess it's 100. It looks like 0.5 is 50%. FTE is reported like 100 or 50%. So it wouldn't be 0.5, it'd be 50% on leave and 50% not, but it's not by each assignment. And CALPADS is reported by job classification, so it'd just be 100% under 12 teacher. And then you'd have a 6018 non-classroom based job assignment. I'm assuming that they're the teacher of record. Then you'd report the course. If they're not instructing students, they don't have a course and they have a non-classroom based job assignment, you'd report the non-classroom based job assignment. But start with identifying whether or not they're the teacher of record.
All right. Thank you, Nate. And thank you, Jennifer, for the question. Moving on to a Q1 from Angela at 306. If an ELOS correction reason code 4 ineligible student tested is submitted for a student changing from EL to EO, would an LEA still need to submit a STAS request to delete the EL record? I'm not sure if it's an either or situation or if both actions need to be taken. And they have reviewed the guidance for the student details for the SELA record on the CALPADS user manual.
I would advise we keep the original EL record in place, because the fact that there's a correction reason will paint the full picture, right? The student was originally assigned an EL record, and then for whatever reason, they were identified as EO. So we want to keep that transition, especially if it's been multiple years where you've reported that student as EL. We want to make sure that you can track back and figure out why that kid was counted as EL. If you delete it, we won't have that historical. It's within the same year.
Same guidance applies, right?
Yeah, I think so, because there's test scores already, that EL record wouldn't have been there unless that student was tested. So I would say yes.
It's the most accurate way to report the ELOS for the student.
Don't forget, the L in CALPAD stands for longitudinal. So we like to see everything going back. It creates the entire mosaic of what's going on in the kid's history, because they were obviously identified as TBD, tested, had scores, everything else. That happened. We need to record that. So with the correction codes in, moving dates forward, moving forward from there.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Angela, for the question there. Moving on to a Q1 from Stephanie at 307. What documentation provides what grade levels can get the new SPED-related course codes? 9701, 9702, and 9703 assigned. Our elementary schools have a 1000 with an instructional strategy code of 700. Is this still correct?
I would think so. I'm trying to find
the code set for the new special education state course codes is specific to itinerant teaching, the pull in push out design. So I typically, that's not limited by grade level. I don't think that changes how you report multiple subject courses, and they're specific. There you go.
So all three of the new state course codes related to special education don't have any grade restrictions. TK through adult, it's eligible for all of them.
And for the definition, also that the verbiage where it specifically says pull in, push out instruction, you would want to refer to the code set.
All right. Thank you, Nate. All right. And then Alex is showing the definitions right there. So thank you, Alex. And thank you, Stephanie, for the question. Moving on now to S. Valencia's Q1. I'm noticing that we have a few questions in here that don't have the Q1 and Q2 up front. Just as a reminder, please place Q1 before your question if it's your first question of the session, Q2 if it's your second, and so on. It helps us to make sure that we answer all of the Q1s first. We typically do get back to answer all of the questions that are asked in the Q&A box, but we like to make sure that we're getting at least addressing everyone's most immediate concern there. But we have a Q1 from S. Valencia at 307. For teacher demographics, the teacher only put a Y, a yes, for Hispanic, Latino, and states she does not identify with any race code in CALPADS. Is that okay to leave blank? Alex is pulling that data element up in the CFS.
Weird. So it's like the SINF for the student, right? If the staff doesn't provide the race, then you'd have to identify it as the staff race missing indicator equal to yes. And then you can leave the race field blank.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, S. Valencia, for the question there. All right. And because they're back-to-back questions, I know the next one is unrelated, so I'm going to count it as a Q2, and we will return to it. Just sit tight, S. Valencia. All right, next I'm going to get to Q1 from Elise at 308. Will there be a patch for active issue 7335 before the Fall 1 amendment deadline? We believe we have several foster students who are missing from our revisions.
Yes, it was patched about an hour ago, and so we're just running revisions for everybody right now. I don't know if Berkeley is on, but I checked yours and your kids are fixed now.
All right.
At Eastside, I didn't check, and Irvine, I checked, but hadn't got a new revision yet.
Right. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, Elise, for the question there. Next, we have a Q1 from Catherine at 309 concerning the degree of support. So, Dominic, I believe you're on deck. Does that mean if we are missing a degree of support, we will be able to correct it during Fall 2? I have one that we're struggling to get a hold of the case manager, as the case manager is ill at this time.
To my knowledge, there's no way to make updates or corrections after the close of the amendment window because it is data being collected as part of the Fall 1 submission. That said, I'm not terribly familiar with Fall 2, so if there is a different point of data collection there, then that may be possible. I can't say no for sure. But as far as not being able to get a hold of the case manager, the degree of support is an IEP team determination. So you could speak with a psychologist, another service provider, as well as just going down the degree of support guidance document. It kind of walks you through the questions as far as how the student should be designated. So you could make that update in CalPADS directly if you're not able to reach the case manager, just perhaps by speaking with another provider or reviewing their student record.
I think, and the team will correct me if I'm wrong, but the degree of support, we have a validation during Fall 1, but that data isn't used until Fall 2, right? So if you were to make updates after Fall 1, but before Fall 2, you would still be capturing that data and it would still be used for Fall 2 reporting.
Oh, if that's the case, that's great.
I think that depends on whether or not they're looking at certified Fall 1, even if they're using it during the time period of the Fall 2 deadline. If they're looking specifically for certified Fall 1 data,
right?
I don't know that that's gonna. Ooh, can you submit a ticket, Catherine, and we can do some more research on our end? What you're saying does make a lot of sense, Alex. I'm just not sure if there's any qualifications that we need to
Yeah,
make that we're not aware of just on the call.
I agree.
All right. But thank you, Dominic, Alex, and Catherine for the question there. Rochelle, we will get to your Q2 shortly here, once we get through all the Q1s. Our next Q1 is from Anna at 312. Please advise on how an LEA can monitor their restraint and seclusion data throughout the year, and not just when the formerly known as EOY3 reporting period opens.
I get to do discipline most often. I'm kind of passionate about this one. So if you want to monitor outside of your student information system, if you want to monitor your restraint and seclusion data in CalPADS, most likely you're going to have to change your business practices because it's a collection that only has to be submitted at the end of the year, but you're not limited to submitting it at the end of the year. Most of the information systems will support you submitting it routinely and allow you to overwrite because it's full replacement data submitted. So you can submit your discipline data now and monitor your restraint and seclusion. You might have to use extracts as many reports are not available, but you can still extract that data in the Excel spreadsheet, you filter for whatever you would like, and count your restraints and seclusion. But you can upload that data to CalPADS right now up until whatever point. So like I said, most of the information systems will include as of today, and then maybe next month you do it again. And that's true of student absenteeism, so on and so forth, most end of year data collections.
All right. Thank you so much, Nate. And thank you, Anna, for the question. Before we move on, I would like to say that Paul Longitudinal Higgins is a great middle name for Paul on our team here. Good job, Alex. Okay, next we have a Q1 from it's a Q1 clarification. I did read ahead a little bit. I'll allow it, Angela. So the clarification, I meant to ask if an LEA would still need to submit a STAS request to delete their initial LPAC rather than to delete the EL record. So the corrected question is, if an ELOS correction reason code 4 ineligible student tested is submitted for a student changing from EL to EO, would an LEA still need to submit a STAS request to delete the initial LPAC? I'm not sure if it's an either or situation or if both actions need to be taken. So as far as CalPADS data is concerned, I think the answer remains the same, where we keep everything in CalPADS to reflect that the student was identified as TBD, was tested with the initial LPAC and ended up with an EL designation, and then was discovered to be EO, and the ELOS was changed with the correction reason code. The LPAC results are the actual initial LPAC itself is not in the CalPADS system. It's just the resulting English language acquisition status that you need to worry about in CalPADS. I'm unaware of whether TOMS would require you to delete or any process would require you to delete the actual initial LPAC test or scoring or results, but I would imagine that they would not, that we would want to keep that data for historical and longitudinal purposes. I hope that helps, Angela. You can submit another clarification question, but it has to be a Q2 this time. Okay. All right, next we have a Q1 from Asya at 315. Hi, hello, Asya. A student transferred to our LEA from another district. The student's CELA record in CalPADS is English only, or EO. The student speaks very little English. Is there a way of restating the CELA in CalPADS since the initial record wasn't created by our LEA?
I think can't the students be retested if there's a new survey and the primary language is showing it's not English? They can be retested. The valid code combinations does show that you can go from EO back to an EL. So that is definitely possible.
TBD, EO to TBD.
I mean, TBD. You're right. Thanks, Angela.
So,
And then,
so the answer is yes, you would put a TBD record in CalPADS with the correction reason code of 1 evidence of non-English primary language. That TBD record will then go to TOMS to prompt the initial LPAC testing. Thank you, Gary.
It is correction process A. I can put this in the chat.
Okay. And thank you, Alex. Oh, is Zoom smart enough to know to leave the extension out of the URL?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I did a bad copy paste. Let me know if it doesn't work.
Right. Well, thank you, Alex and Gary, and thank you, Asia, for the question. All right, next we have a Q1 from Terry at 322. What guidance do you have in determining a highly qualified instructor for a course?
if it's for a CTE course, we just have a field that you populate. I don't know what our guidance is other than populate that field.
The only thing I can think of in CalPADS is the high quality CTE course indicator, which is an attribute of a course, not the instructor, but it's an indicator that you would turn on if the instructor has the proper credentials to teach the CTE course. Nate, correct? You can jump in. Was I wrong about any of that?
You got it.
All right. So I believe, so that is the guidance for you. The high quality CTE course indicator is switched on if the teacher is credentialed to teach a CTE course.
And then there's that website, right? Alex, do you want to navigate to that has that table of the authorized credentials?
Ah, yes.
ctc.ca.gov. Yeah, there you go.
So you'd enter, I don't know, whatever CTE course. And then I'll put this in the chat too.
All right. Thank you, Alex and Angela. All right, next we have our only question remaining, so be sure to get those questions in the Q&A box, everyone. We are here to provide support until the 4 o'clock hour, so please, ask some questions. Let us stay here until 4. All right, next we have a Q2 from Rochelle at 310. Would we put a language of instruction code on a dual immersion section that is 90-10 Spanish-English, or does an LOI only get put in if there's a section, if the section is 100% in a different language?
So the dual immersion typically in CalPADS describes a LIP program. The language instruction code relates to the education service code. So you populate the language of instruction if you choose education service code 1, which is primary language instruction and designated ELD. The definition would be in the code set, and it doesn't say anything about it has to be 100% in the primary language. So if it sounds like the dual immersion course is going to be taught in the primary language, if state adopted ELD standards are used, then you would use education service code 1, and you are required at that point to populate the primary language of instruction.
Matt, you're on mute.
Thank you, Alex. So it looks like Alex has the documentation. So thank you so much for that answer, Nate, and for following up with the with the resource there, Alex. Thank you for the question, Rochelle. Next, we have a Q1 from Sharmila at 327. Some of our LEAs have fall 1 warnings for ELOS and they are mostly TBD or students who were reclassified. Can we ignore those warnings? So I would say it's technically always an option for you to ignore warnings because you're able to certify a CALPADS data submission with warnings present where you're not able to do so with fatal errors. But the guidance is always to review the warnings and see if you have valid data elements in that place. And if they are valid data elements, go ahead and ignore the warnings. But you should do your due diligence to determine that these ELOS or the English language acquisition statuses that you've recorded for your students in CALPADS are accurate. So whatever those warnings are pointing to, go ahead and check it out. If it is accurate, it's fine. Go ahead and ignore those warnings. But if it's inaccurate, we would still guide you to make those corrections and then recertify fall 1. All right. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of our questions. Oh, no, it doesn't. We've got a Q4. All right, Q4 from Rochelle at 329. If a staff member has the Hispanic ethnicity indicator marked as yes and the race code missing indicator marked as yes, will they show on DataQuest as Hispanic? I'm taking Paul's nodding of a yes, and I'm thinking that means the answer probably is yes, but I'm not confident in where to find that answer. So,
Well,
Nate, Paul?
we know for certain that's how it is reflected for students. I would imagine it's the exact same logic for the staff as well. The report mapping guides will indicate, and possibly in the glossary as well. At the bottom, the ethnicity rolls up business rules.
So Rochelle, I do believe they would be Hispanic, and the rules for how the ethnicity rolls up in federal reporting are on this page of the CalPADS user manual.
I put it in the chat.
And Angela got it in the chat for everybody. Thank you so much, Angela, Alex, and Nate for helping out there. And thank you, Rochelle, for the question. All right, next we have a Q1 from Megan at 329. Dominic mentioned for students with disabilities who are missing their degree of support in fall 1, it may impact fall 2 and cause exceptions. What does that mean? Or what are exceptions and will they prevent them from certifying their fall 2 data? Thank you.
Hopefully somebody who knows what exceptions mean can answer this, because I do not.
Like CalSAS exceptions.
There's I don't know if it would be covered, but under exceptions in CalSAS, they do have a special education section.
I think this is the one we have to double check if you
They make
populate the degree of
correction.
support after fall 1, does it still count towards fall 2? So
I will say that I don't believe exceptions will prevent them from certifying their fall 2 data. So they can still get to the certification stage, but they kind of happen with certified fall 2 data once it's sent to CalSAS. They determine exceptions and misassignments and credentialing considerations. So this wouldn't prevent them from certifying fall 2, but it could still have heavy implications for the LEA. So I would. do what you can to track down that degree of support during the Fall 1 amendment window if you're able to. And please do submit a ticket so that we can get you more information on whether you're able to make corrections after the Fall 1 deadline, but before the Fall 2 deadline. All right, next we have a Q1 from Annette at 3:30. I have an itinerant deaf and hard of hearing teacher that travels to different schools each day of the week. Is she reported as a teacher or is she reported as pupil services? Always so good at remembering to expand all before you do the search on these FAQs, Alex.
I'm not finding the one I want. Here.
So I think it all boils down to whether what credential the staff member is. Is she a teacher credentialed or pupil service? Because that's two different job classifications to begin with. So if they are a teacher credentialed, then of course you assign them as a teacher at 27 and report them at all of the school sites that the teacher is providing those the services in. And if they're a pupil service, then of course you report the teacher as an 11, credentialed as a teacher credentialed, providing so you can report them as a 27 and then assign them to the school sites if you want to distribute it that way, and then report each of the FTE percentages for each of those assignments at those school sites, and then assign them to that specific state course code where that is associated or appropriate for that staff member.
All right. Thank you, Kyron. And Alex, it looks like you did find the right question.
Yeah, I always struggle to find this. I don't have a keyword for this FAQ. But to me, the main difference, and maybe I'm just echoing what Kyron was saying, but between the 27 and the 11 is when you're doing pupil services, they're not instructing students, right? That's the main difference. So I think it just boils down to that.
All right. Thank you, Alex and Kyron, and thank you, Annette, for the question there. Moving on to, and I think we can kind of get two birds with one stone. We have a Q1 from Alex at 3:31 and a Q1 from John at 3:31 that look like they're roughly the same question here. So the question is, for college courses offered at our school but taught by a professor for the college who is not our employee, can we use the generic seed of all nines? And I would say, yes, this is one of the paradigm cases for using the generic seed of all nines. So again, you never report the seed of all nines in a staff demographic or a staff assignment file. You only ever use it in a course section record, and you use it in course section records for specifically teachers who are not employed by your organization. If you're able to track down the real seed of that teacher, even if they aren't employed by your organization, it's a best practice to report the real seed of that teacher. But college professors typically aren't required to obtain the same kind of credentials and obtain seeds. And so college professors don't typically have seeds. So a college course offered by your school but taught by a professor at the college who is not your employee is one of the paradigm cases of correctly using the seed of all nines. All right, and then we have a Q2 from Alex at 3:31 for a speech pathologist who is on leave, code 6018. Should the FTE be 100%? Oh, and Paul Higgins also got a link to the when is it appropriate to use the seat of all nines in chat. Thank you, Paul. I'll take it. Paradigm case. That's a good one.
For the speech pathologist question, I think that our guidance for anybody who's on leave, right, is that the FTE should equal whatever their FTE was when they were normally employed. So I think.
So it's typically 100, right? Because most staff work 100% of their contracted time. Most staff don't work over that. And so you would report 100 under the staff assignment record for the speech pathologist.
And I believe that guidance changed the last couple of years ago. I think previously the answer would have been 0, but then I think it changed. Was it last year or maybe the year before to you should put, like Alex said, what they normally would have.
All right.
It's in the table of the TOR. It's flash
Thank you.
1 something.
294, flash
294.
294.
There.
All right. We got to the resource. Okay, Flash 294 contains this guidance. It is also in the CalPADS user manual in the Fall 2 reporting room. Looks like it was written by the CIA. They decided to highlight in black marker. All right, and that brings us to the end of the questions. Still got about 20 minutes left in the session. If you do have any remaining questions, please try to get them in the Q&A box and we can answer your questions as you submit them. The Fall 1 deadline is next Friday, so make sure you ask all your Fall 1 questions. And we are currently working on Fall 2, so Fall 1, Fall 2. Any questions that you guys
Unless you're
have?
one of Alex's LEAs, then you're working on end of year already.
Right. Yeah. I think I've seen on our chart that there's quite a bit of people who, or a handful at least, that have certified Fall 2 already. So.
We also have several LEAs at LEA approved for Fall 1, so SELPA's got to kick it in gear and start SELPA approving. Yeah, I only see 25, Alex, for Fall 2.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's pretty good considering we're only a couple weeks in. Yeah.
All right, we're not seeing any more questions populate in the Q&A box. Angela, what do you think?
We're at 341. There was a couple of people that just joined, so let's just give them like 1 minute to maybe at least say in chat if they're going to ask a question or not.
All right, sounds good to me. And while we're waiting, please go to the CSIS training registration page. There's a link in chat, and there are some courses for you to register for. We have the March regionals that are up there now. And you should please register by region. If you click more information, you'll see the counties that are included in each region. And then we also have the February virtual check-in of the CSIS Data Governance Academy. February 19th from 1 to 3, and we have one more Fall 2 course that's taking place tomorrow with Fall 2 reporting and certification. So please do register for those trainings so that you can get up-to-date guidance and support from the CSIS team.
If I could plug Fall 2 reporting certification, Marshall will be DJing and Kyron will be rapping. So look forward to that.
Okay,
He's-
Kyron,
He's
you're on
making
deck,
promises
buddy.
for you, Kyron.
We'll practice this afternoon, Kyron.
Yeah, we did get some questions in chat. Marshall, you can help with the second one. So we have a Q1 from Natasha at 3:43. Do you need to have gone to the first data governance session to attend the virtual check-in? No. So we have designed the sessions of the Data Governance Academy to each act as a standalone product. So you can attend the virtual check-in with no prior knowledge, no prior attendance at the Data Governance Academy, or really no prior knowledge of data governance, and we should still be able to provide a lot of valuable content for you in that session. We will have sessions of the Data Governance Academy that are kind of traveling statewide sessions again in April, and those are the same way. You won't need to attend any of the prior sessions to attend those sessions in April. Although they are built to be standalone products, we do kind of build them as scaffolding, so they build on each other, and participants should receive the maximum value by getting a view of the entirety of the whole academy, but there are lessons and insights for everyone in each of the sessions, and we're assuming no prior knowledge for each of the sessions as well. So if you did not attend the sessions in October, that's perfectly fine. Please still register for the virtual check-in in February, and you will, I make this promise, find value in the session. I agree, Angela. Let's go ahead and call it then. So thank you everyone for attending the CalPADS Q&A today. We again will be off on Monday and the service desk will be closed, but CalPADS will still be online. We will see you at the next CalPADS Q&A next Wednesday.